great movies need great actors and scripts and all that stuff, but having a great director behind the camera can make great movies into classics. A great director can make a bad movie okay. And to be fair, great directors can also make bad movies. But we are here to celebrate the director. Here's 10 directorial facts and...
action!
Thank you. Right. John Ford has won the most Academy Awards for Best Director so far with 4.
Action!
Legendary filmmaker Elia Kazan holds the record for most competitive wins in this category, winning all 4 of his nominations.
Action!
Catherine Bigelow is the first woman to win an Oscar in 2010 for The Hurt Locker.
Action!
Steven Spielberg is the most successful director, with his films earning over $10 billion.
Action!
William Bodine is the most prolific director at 350 movies, a feat that couldn't be matched today.
Action!
Manuel del Oliveira was 103 when he directed Gibo and the Shadow, making the oldest person ever to direct a movie.
Action!
Guinness World Records name Love You Baba director Sogat Bista the youngest director at a professionally made feature film, noting that he was 7 years and 340 days when Love You Baba was released in cinemas on the 12th of December 2014.
Action!
Uwe Boll, who fired off loads of movie game remakes in the early 2000s, was voted the worst director of all time, but still made a whopping 34 movies.
Action!
Director Simon Wells has the honour of directing The Biggest Flop. Under the Zemeckis umbrella, he directed the animated Mars Needs Moms, costing $150 million to make, but only made $39.5 million at the box office.
Action!
And James Cameron has the pleasure of the highest grossing movie of all time, with Avatar at $2.9 billion. In fact, Cameron has 3 in the highest grossing films of all time at positions 1, 3 and 4.
Okay, that's a wrap.
Thank you very much. That is a wrap. Oh my Lord. You'll find out at the end of the podcast how many times it took me to actually get that right. But yes, we're doing one of the big ones again. I always find, I think the greatest song ever, greatest movie ever, greatest directors of all time is one of the big ones. And we thought only one person can join us. It's TopHead Ric. Hello, Ric.
Hey, how you doing? You all right?
I'm better now the podcast has started. I mean, that was a shit show from start to finish.
No, it was great. It was great. I mean, it was funny, actually, that Uwe Boll fact. I was thinking, like, oh, God, the worst director I can think of is Uwe Boll. And then you came up with the facts. So I was like, okay, we'll align then.
We will thank Neil for that. Neil did write those facts. So thank you for that, Neil. You should put what the pronunciations are for me, just so I know. I'm sure I've got Giba and the Shadow wrong. It was probably something else. No, I can't remember. Was this your recommendation to do this one?
I think this was, yeah. I was every single suggestion I give you is usually based around movies. So I look at all the other ones you got, like music and everything, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I mean, I could do that, but I'll probably do like a movie suggestion instead. So, but yeah, no, I just, yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? Let's see where it all lands with directors, because there's so many good ones, you know.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, so what would be your description as a good director? Are you looking for something with the way they tell the story, the way they set up their shots? What's your definition?
I think, again, it's not a simple answer, is it? It's basically, it's quite personal. And I also think it's a combination of hit rate. So like how many great movies they've made, how many sort of classic movies. You could be a good director and make a few movies, but if you've made 5 movies and 3 of them are stone cold classics, you could get in the list. And I think it's awards won. It's a combination of loads of different things. I would say. I wouldn't say it's just one thing.
Yeah. No, because I had Mel Gibson in my top 10.
Oh wow, that's it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, fair enough.
But he's done 2 movies that I think are, like Braveheart and Apocalypto. Say 3, The Passion of the Christ, that are like just stone cold classics.
Yeah.
I mean, they are uncomfortable to watch. But they are just shot in a way that are just epic. They're just epic movies.
Yep.
But I thought that 3 wasn't enough. to
See,
get
that's the
him
thing.
in the pantheon of greatest directors of all time.
I think that's the thing. I think I'm kind of with you on that. But then again, if you put Mel Gibson like at like number 9 or something and went, well, actually, he did Braveheart. Honestly, I love Braveheart, so I would have been like, fair enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that all will blow out of the water when I say what my number 10 is in regards to like classic movies. And so
I can't wait for this.
yeah, it's gonna be right back there with having Muppet Christmas Carol higher than The Shining in the top 10 ghost movies.
Look, though, Muppets Christmas Carol for me is a stone cold classic, so I'm right there with you on that. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah. I mean, it made Tim Downey just like puke in disgust when he was the guest of that. When the look on his face of horror was just was terrible. Okay, well, we've got the quiz to do a little bit later on as well, so it'll just be you doing that. So we'll see how many you can get out of I think I've got 10. Yeah, we've got 10, so we'll do that a little bit later on. But kick us off with your number 10 then, Rick.
Okay, so my number 10 is Ridley Scott.
Oh, that's my number 4.
Oof, right, okay, right. So, I mean, Ridley Scott, I love him. I think he is, and if you've ever seen him interviewed, he's like a gruff Yorkshire sort of, doesn't take any shit.
Like what I say and say what I bloody well like. Yeah.
And he's always got like a cravat on or something like that, and he's very sort of, to the point. I mean, he's visually, he's stunning, isn't he? He's absolutely stunning. I think he was I think I'm right in saying he's a former art director, or he comes from a background where he was basically very visual with the things he was doing. But I just think, I mean, you've got Blade Runner, Alien. Alien is just, for me, it's an absolute masterpiece of the haunted house genre. I think it's still, and they were making that. If you've seen the behind the scenes, I'm sure you have. But the budget they had for what he did on the budget they had was absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I just think that, and obviously he's got Gladiator. Going way back, he did Legend with Tom Cruise, which is a little bit of a guilty pleasure. I think Neil actually quite likes that, doesn't he?
I think he does. I've never seen it. Mainly because I'm scared of Tim Curry in it. He's frightening as fuck in that.
So visual. And then The Martian is a recent one that I really, really. The more I watch it, the more I like the fact that it's kind of like one of those movies that you think it's going to end in a kind of everyone dies or he dies. No, it actually ends on a really nice note, and I think, good on you for making a movie actually that is really happy and good. Yeah. So I think he sort of does that thing, and again, visually stunning. So I think he's a really talented director. I think there's a few movies he's made that have sort of, Kingdom of Heaven being one of them, which is a little bit it just sort of has a bum note. So he's a bit hit and miss, but I think in terms of a visual storyteller, he's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, what do you think?
Well, I'm of the same. I can remember seeing an interview where he was talking about they were working on Alien, because I think it came out in '78. Was it? I think Alien, something like that.
Yeah.
It was after Star Wars, wasn't it? 79. But he watched Star Wars and his heart sank because that was exactly the look that he was looking for Alien. As in, it wasn't shiny space stuff. It was lived in. It was like, gritty. There's rust and there's dirt. And I can always remember him saying that he saw that and he thought, shit, we're going to need to try and do something, even better, because they've just done the visual of it was exactly what I wanted. Yeah. But for somebody that came, if you look at it, so I was looking at it, so he did Alien, then he did Blade Runner.
Oh, incredible.
Then he did Legend.
Yeah. Did he really? So Legend was after them?
Legend was after those, yeah. Someone to Watch Over Me, Black Rain, which is great, Thelma and Louise, which is great.
Thelma and Louise, yeah.
He had a great run. But, I mean, the one thing he does different kinds of movies. I mean, the one thing I was watching some clips of Napoleon, which is the latest one.
I really enjoyed that when I saw it. Actually.
Have you seen it? Have you? I've not seen it.
Yeah. I went in expecting something totally different to what I got.
Right, and the one thing that puts me off watching it is a lot of people have said, because I would love to learn about Napoleon and find out, but they say that it's not historically accurate at all.
No, you don't go into it expecting a history lesson.
Yeah, so I kind of think, what's the point then? Why do a Napoleon movie if you're not gonna? I mean, I know that like Braveheart plays with history and stuff like that, but it kind of makes you think, well, what's the point then? Why not just do some period piece that's not necessarily about Napoleon if you're not going to teach people about Napoleon. But I mean, I'm
Honestly,
assuming so as an action film or something. Is it really really good?
So I went into that. Weirdly, I usually go. I don't know what you're like, but I usually research into movies and I look at reviews and I
I
I
do.
read things before I go in. But I didn't with that, and I went
Oh
with a
right.
buddy of mine, and I honestly didn't know what to expect. And I remember sitting down and going, "Oh Jesus, this is like 3 hours long. I really hope it's good." And I think because I went in with that mindset, and with the mindset, I think of people going, "It's not historically accurate. It's not something that you want to watch for a deep character study of Napoleon or anything like that." I was like, "Oh God, I'm not sure what to expect." But then when I watched it, it was kind of it has an element of The Martian about it, where you
Oh
watch
right.
it and you're entertained, and it's about Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, he's amazing in
Yeah.
it. He is amazing in it, and also his female co-star, his wife in it, is absolutely amazing in it. And it's just about him. It's not really even about the wars and everything. Is almost like that. That's just the time sort of that's the plot basically. That sort of hangs the plot off, and it's just really entertaining. That's the best thing I can say about it. It's really really good, and I did enjoy it because my expectations weren't that high.
Yeah.
So it's really entertaining. It's good.
Some people that I saw
It's like
online
very
were saying that like it's really funny in places as well.
it's almost a comedy in places.
Really?
Yeah. It's like a comedy Braveheart is the best
Is
way I
it?
can describe it to you.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's. I think with a lot of the directors that I've got in mind, that they've all got like their favorite actors they like to work with, and I think with Ridley Scott, someone like Russell Crowe is definitely somebody that he likes to work with.
Yeah.
Robin Hood was okay.
Okay, wasn't it? Yeah.
I'm a Prince of Thieves guy anyway, so
Yeah,
I
mean,
like
I'm with you.
I like that kind of thing. And then when he went back into the Alien with Prometheus, and what was the one after that? Alien Covenant.
Covenant, Prometheus. Yeah, I didn't really rate them.
No, I didn't. It kind of like it's the beauty of Alien is it's like Jaws. You don't see him see the monster all the time, and that makes it even more. So when you start picking the whole, just the the prequel of it all, and kind of this is the reason that I don't want to know that. The mystery is what is so
Absolutely correct. Yeah, it doesn't need a backstory, does it?
No.
You don't need to know why the alien is there. You just need to know it's there. That's it.
I completely agree. But yeah, that's a good one to start off. Yeah, that was my number 4. Your number 10. Okay, my number 10, Tim Downey, if you're listening, I apologise with all the things I was saying about great directors, but I have to put this man in my top 10 because I listen to his movies every night when I go to bed. So it's Gerald Thomas, who is the director of the Carry On movies.
Brilliant.
Now, they say that the hardest thing to do is comedy.
Yeah.
And I completely agree, because the amount of bad comedies that you can see. And it's all about timing. It's all about showing what they need to show. And I can remember, again, there was an interview with Gerald Thomas, and they were talking about comedy. I mean, I don't know how long he's been dead now, but he was talking about like modern day comedy compared to comedy, the Carry-Ons. And he was saying that they just don't keep the camera on people long enough. For when there's a joke, let the joke breathe and have the reaction of the person. It's quick cuts, and it's all over the place.
I would actually back you up on that. They do the same with action now. It's too many cuts, too many. They don't just keep it focused on the thing that's happening, which is exactly the same as comedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
And I know it's like low hanging fruit, and I know that a lot of it is un-PC in what you think about these days. And when they show it on, I think they still show it on ITV3 when it's a bank holiday, and they'll have that little card at the start saying, this movie depicts is from a different time, and there are different, and they always cut out the really bad bits.
Right.
But it makes me say, it is something of the 60s and 70s, and it's all very and misses and cleavage and
nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's just from the time it was.
It is. Yeah. But I absolutely, and anybody who listens to this podcast knows how much I love the Carry On movies, and I think as there's a certain knack to showing comedy great on a screen. And Gerald Thomas had that. He knew where to put the camera. He knew how long to keep the camera on someone's face for a certain punchline, for a certain set piece. So he was actually my first name on my top 10,
Oh,
but
wow,
I
that's-
did genuinely think there are a lot of directors here that are like Oscar-winning directors that are not in my top 10. And Gerald Thomas is there at number 10. I thought he had to make it, but just by his fingertips clinging on to number 10.
But I think that's really good. Like, did he direct all, like, most of the carry-ons?
He directed every single one of them, I believe.
Every single one of
every single one.
Wow.
So it was his. I'm pretty sure he did.
So you build up a rapport with the cast. So obviously that comic timing, he will know them inside and out. Which is really, really, that's a relationship, which is something that you don't really get nowadays, actually.
I mean, yeah. So he did do Carry On Columbus. So he did right from Carry On Sergeant, which was the first one, to Carry On Columbus. He did direct. Obviously, directed other things as well. But he did the like the Carry On TV show, Bless This House, and a lot of that's. He had a type of project to work on. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, he is a legend in my eyes, so I'm going to have him in there. So your number 9 then, please, Rick.
Okay, so my number 9 is James Cameron.
There you go. See, he's not in my top 10.
Yeah, right. There you go. Do you know what? I almost had Christopher Nolan in, but this is a massive segue. But Christopher Nolan, when he did Tenet, which I thought, and then I saw Oppenheimer, and honestly, I was bored to tears with Oppenheimer. And
Really?
And for those reasons, he just edged out my top 10, even though I think he's a fantastic director. So James Cameron slid in there. The reason being, Terminator, obviously, amazing movie. I mean, for someone who he's such a sci-fi pioneer in the way he directs things, and just, I mean, the Terminator is just absolutely fantastic. And he saw something on Arnold Schwarzenegger that obviously catapulted him to superstardom. Then T2, Aliens, and the story of Aliens is. Have you heard the story when he pitched it to the? I think it was. I can't remember. It was 20th Century Fox or something. I think
it was. Yeah.
But he walked into the room and he basically just went Alien. He put like a little flip chart on. He wrote Alien, and then he just put an S on the end with a $sign on it.
Fair play.
Aliens. There you go. Like just more than one. But yeah, and then obviously you've got he's done to be honest with you, he did True Lies, which I love. I think it's brilliant. Then he did he did the Abyss, but he did the Abyss, and then after that, I know he's got the highest grossing movie with Avatar, which you touched on in your facts. But I think he's been one of these directors that I've kind of wanted him to come back to directing, and he's kind of got into this technological side of things recently, which is a shame. I just want him to get back into directing again. Show me something like Terminator, or just something, anything. Just do directing again, rather than sort of subsume yourself into this technological side of it. And I think Avatar's fine. It's okay. I thought I enjoyed it, but that's why he's number 9. I think he's an innovator and he's a fantastic director. Apparently, he's a bit of a tyrant as well. But yeah, that's why he's number 9.
And you missed Titanic, of course, as well.
I missed Titanic on purpose.
Yeah,
number 1, 'cause I know that Neil hates it.
That's right. He absolutely does. He absolutely does. Yeah.
I can appreciate it for what it is. I'm not a big fan. I think it's a good story. It's fine, but I just think he's a fantastic director and so much talent. And I just think he needs to come back into directing again. So.
I think visually he's one of the best. Absolutely. I think it's like they said. I mean, Avatar is basically Dances with Wolves, but with blue cats.
Yeah.
And you could Titanic is just a love story, but it's got amazing special effects that looks amazing. It looks just out of this world. So, although saying that, I kind of feel like Gerald Thomas, James Cameron, even just for Terminator 2, and Aliens, you kind of think, and True Lies again. Yeah, you kind of think, I've dropped a bollock on that one. And I feel like that's not going to be the first time I said that. Every time you come with one that I haven't got, it's going to be like, possibly.
If we haven't got down the list yet, you'll probably be like, what are you talking about?
I know. Oh, dear. Anyway, but that is a good one. Yeah. I mean, but like we said in the facts, he's got 3 of the highest grossing films in the top 4.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he obviously knows how to make a movie.
Yeah.
He definitely does. And a lot of directors will buckle under if you gave him, I don't know, $500 million and went, right, make a blockbuster about this. he just goes, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He does it, and it's
Yeah.
successful. And you go, okay, so he's definitely got the talent to do it. And I just wish he would back away from this Avatar obsession he's got a little bit.
I think he's too far into it now, though, isn't he? Because they're
I think
talking
so.
about 3, 4, 5, or whatever, unless he hands it over to somebody. But
Yeah,
it's his baby now that he's not going to want to hand it over, is he? You wouldn't think.
yeah.
But no, great one. Okay, my number 9, Edgar Wright. I'm going for.
It's a really good one.
Apart from what was his last one called? Was it Last Exit to Soho or something like that?
Oh yes. Oh bloody hell.
Christ.
Yeah, I know what you mean though.
That's the one I haven't seen. But the rest of his movies, and what I love, there are certain directors I love because I love the way that they shoot stuff. And obviously Edgar Wright with Spaced, that was his style. The quick cuts and the pans across that then go on to something else. He brought that straight into Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, and The World's End, and the Cornetto trilogy is a great trilogy. It's just, I mean, The World's End's probably the weakest of the 3.
Weakest, yeah, but I mean, what a trilogy still.
Yeah, and then Baby Driver was another one that was like, it was just, I mean, the story again was okay, but it is just the way that it's shot. There are certain car shots in there that are just spellbinding, you know? And I love that kind of stuff from a director, stuff that they will look at a scene and think, right, what the easiest way of doing it is this, but let's have a look and see if we can do it like that. Yeah. And it's just something a little bit. I'll tell you one thing that reminds me of that is Danny DeVito. He directed War of the Roses. Have you ever seen that? It was a Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner film.
Oh, wow.
And he directed it. And there were certain shots. There was a shot of somebody, they were having a fight, and I think it's Kathleen Turner throws a plate at Michael Douglas. And the camera, it's like the camera is on the plate. And you can see the plate spinning towards like its victim. Yeah. And you sort of think, I wonder, somebody obviously thinks that. So you must think, let's try and make this shot really interesting.
Yeah.
So let's put the camera on, set it up so it looks like the camera's on the, and I love those kind of little, those things that make a director a little bit different to somebody else, somebody that would think about a shot a little bit differently. And Edgar Wright is that for me.
I totally agree. I mean, that's a really good shout, and I'm kicking myself actually a little bit that he's not on my list. But I really love that bit in Hot Fuzz where he travels out of the city and into the rural part of England. And it's just the cuts of, and his phone bars go down to no signal. And then he's sitting at the train and with the plant, and then it just goes, and he wakes up because the train comes, and it's just those little things. I think that's absolutely fantastic. It could have just been one of those very traditional movie sort of, transition things of the car driving into the city and then panning up to the city or panning out to the, didn't do that.
No.
And that is really the amount of effort and work to go into to doing that as well. But you could just get a B, sort of like a B crew to go out and just go, okay, right, just film that. No worries. But he didn't do that. And I think that's the sort of attention to detail that he has is fantastic.
And Scott Pilgrim as well.
Oh, I
Scott
love
Pilgrim
that movie.
versus the World. It's such a good movie, and it absolutely bombed at the cinema.
I know, but it's so good.
It's so good. And the one regret of everything is not knowing what the Edgar Wright Ant-Man movie would have been like, because that was the original one that he was supposed to originally write. I think he was writing it with Joe Cornish. And he's supposed to be directing it, and then obviously it didn't happen. But
Joe Cornish actually, didn't he do Attack the Block? Joe Cornish.
That's right. Yeah.
So I mean, that's those similar-ish sort of styles.
Yeah.
What a movie that would have been! Actually, that would have been fantastic.
Yeah, I would love just to read the script to see what their take on it would have been.
Yeah.
And then obviously with his style, I don't suppose it wouldn't have worked for a Marvel movie. That's why it didn't happen. But anyway, who knows? Yeah. Okay, then your number 8, then please.
Okay, my number 8 is Alfred Hitchcock.
I've got him at number 6.
Oh, okay, similar-ish. Yeah, I think he's there because I just think as an innovator, I mean, we talk about the crane shot in Notorious. He did all those different sort of things. He was just, when they talk about the master of suspense, it's a moniker that he has because it's true. He was, I've watched so many of his movies, like North by Northwest, obviously Psycho, Rear Window, Vertigo. There's so many movies he's done, but every single one, he's always in control. And apparently, again, a little bit like Cameron, bit of a tyrant behind the camera. I think he said quite famously that he uses actors as just that you're just my tool. and I'm going to tell you what to do, and you're going to do it, and that's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's a guy with a vision, I think, and rightly or wrongly, whether you disagree or agree with his methods, probably not very nice at the time, and still not very nice when you look back at it. But what a fantastic visual, master of what he was doing, and there was no one to touch him, and there's still probably not many people that touch him right now, and I just think he has to be in there basically.
I mean, he's part of like pop culture, isn't he? And there's so many scenes and so many clips and visions and images that are just part of everyday life. I mean, anytime that you see something from The Simpsons where they've taken, so especially the Psycho shower scene, they did their own version of it, and so many other cartoons will take bits from Hitchcock. He is the master of a lot. And I never got to be on the top 10 Hitchcock podcast. I couldn't make that one, but it's he has to be in there, doesn't he? I mean, I will say I haven't watched as many Hitchcock movies as a lot of people. But the ones that everybody knows about, it's hard to pick somebody that. I mean, he was a trailblazer. I think without him, certain other directors wouldn't have taken up the.
Absolutely not. No,
the mantle. So, but yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, what's your favorite Hitchcock movie?
I think Rear Window for me. I watched that. I did a photography degree. And I was trying to just immerse myself in movies. Paris, Texas was one because it was just so visually stunning. Blue Velvet and Rear Window. And I watched Rear Window, and it was just the fact he frames, and that set was built.
That's right.
It was just built from scratch, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, that's incredible. And all these different people and all these different, because it's photography I was doing, all these different windows and apertures into people's lives and all this stuff. But it was just, I love that movie, and I think it's James Stewart, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
And who's the girl in it? What's her name?
Grace Kelly, I think.
Grace Kelly.
Yeah.
She ended up marrying the Prince of Monaco.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was. I just think that movie is just. It's just a masterclass in how to weave an unexpected, strange, tension-filled story, and it's so strange. And the fact that he's sort of incapacitated with his broken leg as well. It's just there's loads of things going on there. I love that movie. I think it's great. And also, even just going back to Psycho as well, like you never see the knife strike. It's always cut away. It always cuts away. So you think you see what you're seeing. So it's just loads of things like that. I think he's fantastic. Yeah,
I think Rear Window is my favourite, and it's the fact, like you say, I a lot of times when I'm watching movies, I will jump onto IMDb and look at the information stuff to see background. And they were saying about how they built that all in like a studio, but when you watch it and you know that. And then you look down the side of the building, and there are people walking down the street that's behind the building.
Yeah,
you think there's just that little those minute details. And I'll talk about minute details with somebody else that's going to be in my top 10, which probably will be in your top 10 as well. But it's like you say, when it's showing the whole building, you don't quite know where to look. But Hitchcock does something that makes you look at a certain part of the building. He leads your eye. And that's the gift, is that thing of like, I'm going to show you this bit now, even though everything's there. That's where you should be looking, and that's where you should be looking. And I love that kind of stuff. And I'm a massive James Stewart fan as well. I think he's great in that.
Oh, James Stewart, yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, that like descent into madness where he doesn't know whether he's seen something or not, and he's like, he can't do anything about it because he can't go anywhere.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's just that little sort of that little detail of him being like you say, he can't go anywhere. That adds there's just that layer of tension. It's like if this goes wrong, you can't run away.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, it's just but it's a little thing, but it's a huge thing at the same time. It's so good. It's
and fantastic. He's also got Grace Kelly just throwing herself at him, and you think, oh my god,
lucky guy, really.
A very lucky guy.
Always in really big dresses as well. Like she's dressed to the nines every time she comes round.
Yeah, I think that was just a 50s thing, wasn't it? People always dressed up to the nines, and if they were just going down to the shops, they would. Yeah. Okay, my number 8 is Francis Ford Coppola.
So that is where is that? That is my number. I think it's my number 6.
Your number 6. Okay. I mean, he could just be in the top 10 for The Godfather Part 1 and 2.
Yes.
He could just be in there for that. But you've got Apocalypse Now, Dracula, which I love his version of Dracula.
So do I.
Yeah, I think it's just sumptuous, but it's just the gothic feeling of it, which obviously, I mean, it's Dracula, is going to. But and Anthony Hopkins just hams it up as Van Helsing. He's so good.
Hammer House of Horrors it up.
Absolutely, very good. I like that. Very good. But as somebody, I mean, it's weird that you go from that to Jack, which was the Robin Williams.
I was going through his movie like filmography before, and I saw that and I went, oh my god, really?
Yeah, it's very, very, very strange. But yeah, like I say, even just Apocalypse Now and Godfather, and it would be enough to put you in the top 10 of greatest directors, I think, because something like Apocalypse Now, I think, almost killed him making that movie.
Everyone else.
Yeah. And The Godfather is just it's set above everything else. It's just that kind of those kind of movies. Number 3, maybe.
What do you make of number 3? How do you view that now with a bit of distance and time?
I don't know. I think the trouble was at the time it was the Sofia Coppola of it all, and the fact that she wasn't very good at acting.
She was terrible.
Yeah, and I think it kind of distracted everybody. I don't think it's a bad movie.
I don't.
You know, I think it kind of rounds off Michael Corleone's story, and it's quite apt, spoilers, you know, that he dies in the vineyard by himself, a little bit like the way his father did. You know, there's a kind of poetry to it all, rather than dying in a hail of bullets, which is you kind of expect, you know, the head of a mafia family to do. But I think I look at it as a whole thing. I think as a whole trilogy, I think it's great. But number 1 and number 2 are such high bars that, you know,
they're so good. They're basic for me. It's almost like a mirror of the original Star Wars trilogy, where 1 is a trailblazing, fantastic thing, 2 is unbelievably good, and 3 is really good, but people sort of shit on it a little bit, and it's like, actually, on reappraisal, it's okay. Also, when he dies in the 3rd one, he's holding an orange, and he drops the orange on the floor, which is the symbol of death in the whole thing, isn't it? Whenever people are looking at oranges, which is, I think that's a really nice sort of detail.
Yeah. I must admit, the part in Godfather 3 when all the Ewoks came around was fucking ridiculous.
When the Ewoks tried to take over a Mobiliare.
That's exactly. Nub nub. And they all get shot to shit. I mean, it was terrible, but it was a bloodbath, it was. Yeah. Very good. Okay, so that was my number 8. So your number 7 then, please, Rick.
Okay, my number 7 is Paul Thomas Anderson.
Oh yeah, he was close to mine.
Yeah, and he's just. I rewatched Boogie Nights recently, and I was just blown away a little bit. And I listened to movie podcasts anyway, but they were talking about the fact that when he wrote that and when he directed Boogie Nights, he was something stupid like 25 or 26.
Yeah, he was crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy how ridiculously young he was. I mean, I was 25 and 26. I was going to the pub and. I was playing on video games, probably still watching movies like Star Wars. This guy's directing a fantastic movie with these stars, and he's doing it. It's not only a good job; it's a fantastic job. He's just sort of, supernaturally talented as a director. And then he's gone on, obviously, to do There Will Be Blood. He did Magnolia, which obviously, going back to Neil, he loves that movie as well.
I love Magnolia as well.
That was our number one. Well, it was your number one, Tom Cruise. You guys tied, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I've watched it since. I've rewatched it since, actually, because I watched it a long time ago. And my God, that's fantastic. That's an amazing movie. I just think there's more to come from him as well. He did Punch Drunk Love and he saw something in Adam Sandler, which again is. When you get a director to tease a performance out of Adam Sandler that's absolutely fantastic, you go, oh, okay, right. You sit up and take notice. I just think he's fantastic. And I think, like I say, I think the potential is there for him to do even better stuff as well. I think the last thing he did was Phantom Thread. That's
right. I've never seen that, but I think Neil has said it's great.
I've never seen that. No, I've never seen it. I need to watch that. But I just think he could be one of those guys that just... Like, again, he'll make another There Will Be Blood in about 5 or 6 years, and it will just be incredible. So, yeah, I think he's number 7.
I mean, I could watch the first half an hour of There Will Be Blood like over on a loop, over the bit where there's no talking,
No
and
talking.
it's just Daniel Day-Lewis just trying to get whatever it is, gold or oil from the. It's just, I find it mesmerizing that just to watch it, because there's just a little bit of I think it's Trent Reznor that does the soundtrack, isn't it? And it's just, I don't know what it is about it, but he is so good. I mean, Punch Drunk Love is great. It's a great movie, and like I say, yeah, I agree with you. I think he's one of those ones that you give him another 10, 15 years, he's just going to come out with great stuff all the time. But he's not very prolific, is he? That's the thing.
He's not. He is very much he's a very sort of Daniel Day-Lewis of a director, isn't he?
Yeah.
About the things he does. But yeah, like just like you say, and I remember listening very recently to I can't remember what top 10 it was, but you were saying you could watch the opening of There Will Be Blood, and based on that one, I went back and watched it, and I was just like, bloody hell, it is incredible. Yeah, I couldn't agree.
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis, what an actor. Okay, that was your number 7. My number 7 is something that you mentioned a little bit earlier on, and it's Christopher Nolan. So I had to put him in. I'm not a massive fan of The Dark Knight Rises. I think that movie is more holes than a colander in the plot, and it irritates me when I start thinking about it. So I will not think about it.
Hungry.
Yeah, I do, because it's just ridiculous. None of it makes sense, and I don't know how someone like I've put him in my top 10 to praise him, and I'm going to shit all over him now. Christopher Nolan, you're wonderful, but there's so many things that he set up what could have been the absolutely perfect trilogy. It didn't matter what whether it's superhero or whatever. You've got what's the first one called?
Just The Dark Knight, I think.
The Dark Knight was the second one.
Oh, sorry.
Batman Begins. Batman Begins. The Dark Knight. You've got an iconic Joker performance with Heath Ledger in the Dark Knight, and then to drop the ball so badly on the third one with stuff that doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense. You've got somebody that wants to be not necessarily wants to be a superhero, but is a superhero, and then decides to have a bit of a hissy fit because he's hurt his back. Oh, poor Bruce Wayne. Oh, poor boy. And it just, there's so much that just doesn't make any sense on it. And then he lets poor Alfred think that he's dead. I've failed you. I've failed you, Master Bruce.
He literally has a nervous breakdown.
Exactly. The poor bastard is crying at the grave and going, "Oh, I've let you down, Master Bruce. I've let you down." And he fucks off on holiday with his bit of stuff. Just so that he can catch him while he's having a drink. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Jesus Christ, Christopher Nolan. He's number 7 in my top 10.
There we go.
But Memento is a great movie. I can remember watching that the first time, and I didn't know anything about it, and I genuinely thought there was something wrong with my DVD player. I genuinely thought it was skipping like the wrong sections, the wrong chapters. So I thought none of this makes fucking sense until you get to the end of the scene and you're oh right, okay. So that's answering what that is. I mean, if you've never watched Memento, don't find anything out about it. Just watch it, because it is a total mindfuck. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You've got it's so good. It's so well written. It's so well acted. I'd thoroughly recommend anybody, like I say, don't find out anything about it. If you've never heard about it, just watch Memento. It's such a good movie.
Totally agree. And the only reason he didn't get in there was purely on Tenet, and then without any, I'm not spoiling anything here, but Oppenheimer, maybe I'm missing something. I need to watch it again, but my God, I went with such high expectations, almost the opposite of Napoleon. I went in with such low expectations.
Oh, really?
Wow, this is really cool. I went in there going, wow, this is going to be great. And it's just lots of people talking in rooms.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's it.
See, that's what a lot of people were saying was so great about it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it's just me. But I tell you what, it was enough. Tenet and that was enough to nudge him out.
Really?
But having
Really?
said that, if we ignore all that, I am right there with you.
Mm.
I love Memento. I love The Dark Knight. I love Batman Begins. I love what's it called? Where they go into the dreams.
Interstellar.
No. Well, I love
Oh,
Interstellar actually.
Inception. Inception, of
I
course.
love,
Yeah.
I love Interstellar. I've grown to love Interstellar actually much more. But yeah, it nudged him out for me. Yeah.
All right. The Prestige is another great one.
Oh, The Prestige is fantastic. Thank you.
It's so good. It's got such a
Phenomenal.
great twist to it. And again, Christian Bale again in that one. But yeah, I mean, he's done some great work. Again, we went to see Tenet at the cinema, and that was when, well, no, we weren't in lockdown, but obviously the whole COVID thing was still going on. So everybody was, we can go out to the cinema. Let's go to the cinema, and you couldn't hear what the people were talking.
Yes, I know.
The music was just so loud, and it was like everybody was looking in the audience, going, "Can you hear that? Can you hear what they're saying?" No, I haven't got a clue. Got no idea.
I know, and I just found I think it's Denzel Washington's son, isn't it? I
That's
just found
right.
just the charisma vacuum in the movie. I wasn't with him. I thought Robert Pattinson was pretty good.
Yeah.
He was good,
But it was like they was trying to be too clever. It was almost like Christopher Nolan was saying, "Look how clever I am. Look how stupid you are. I'm cleverer than you."
yeah. And also, he didn't have Jonathan Nolan, who's his long collaborator. I don't think he had him on that movie.
No.
And he obviously is a bit of a George Lucas, where he just needs to be. Someone needs to go. Chris, just rein it in a little bit.
Again, sorry to shit all over you, Chris. You are my number 7. I've done nothing but have a go at you, but you're a great director.
Thought you're number 7, but yeah, just knocked it out.
Oh dear. Anyway, so your number 6 was Francis Ford Coppola.
Yes.
My number 6 was Alfred Hitchcock.
Right.
So it's now time for this.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Yes, pop quiz, hot shot. So I'm going to give you 3 movies, all directed by the same person. You need to tell me who directed them.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I think so.
Let me make sure I got the right. No, it's not that one. It's that one if you get it wrong. Okay, here we go. So we have The Magnificent Ambersons, Macbeth, and Touch of Evil.
Oh God, I've definitely heard of A Touch of Evil. I don't know. I will guess. Who's the guy that did who's the guy that plays the modern version of the detective who is Poirot?
Shouldn't I'm asking the questions, not you.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be answering the questions. Do you mean Kenneth Branagh?
Yes.
No, it's not Kenneth Branagh, no.
I don't know.
No. It was Orson Welles.
Oh, bloody hell, of course.
There you go. Okay, number 2, Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive, and Twin Peaks.
David Lynch.
Well done. 1 out of 2. Number 3, Shadows, Faces, A Woman Under the Influence.
I've never heard of any of those. So,
or did that just sound like a Friday night out, Rick?
Words. Shadows, Faces, and Under the Influence. Okay, right. I'm going to Shadows, Faces. I don't know.
It was John Cassavetes.
Oh, really?
There you go.
Was he the actor that was in The God? No, it wasn't him.
No.
That's John Cazale. No,
it wasn't him, no. Okay. Number 4, Brief Encounter, Oliver Twist, and Dr. Zhivago.
Oh, Christ. Again, I don't know.
It was David Lean. Also did Passage to India as well. These are quite old directors as well.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine.
Okay, number 5, Metropolis, M, and The Big Heat.
Oh God, it's not. Oh God, Metropolis. It's not Werner Herzog, is it?
It's not. It's Fritz Lang.
Lang. I knew
Fritz
it was
Lang. Number 6, Repulsion, The Tenant, and Frantic.
No clue.
No, that was Roman Polanski. Frantic, starring Harrison Ford. Great movie, that is, if you ever get a chance to see that one.
Wow, okay.
Number 7, The Master, Punch Drunk Love, and Phantom Thread.
It's Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yay! Number 8, The Kid, City Lights, and The Great Dictator.
Kid. I know the kid. This is an oldie, isn't it?
It is an oldie.
It's not Orson Welles, is it?
No, because we had Orson Welles at number 1. That was the Magnificent Ambersons Macbeth. This is Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, that's
Charlie Chaplin. Number 9, Stagecoach, The Searchers, and The Grapes of Wrath. I've been very unfair to you because these are all quite old.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's okay.
No? Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, test me. Test me and defeat me. It sounds. Is that John Ford?
Well done. It is John Ford. Well done. And the final one, Body Double, Blowout, and Carrie.
Oh, God. Roman Polanski?
Oh, God. Brian De Palma. Brian De Palma. So that was 30%. You got 30% right. But they were some tough ones. They were some tough ones. But well done. Well done anyway. I think the John Ford one, I would say I wouldn't have got that. There's a lot of them I wouldn't have got.
Again, I just have this sort of like thing where I reach into my brain and pull something out from nowhere. But 70% of the time that didn't happen.
No, it didn't. Well, to be honest, 20% of the time you gave me answers that we'd already had. So
I know, yeah.
there you go. If we're going to really go into the statistics. Okay, let's have your number 5 then, please, Rick.
Okay, I'm just I've got a list on my computer and it keeps shutting down.
So dear.
All right, so my number 5 is the Coen Brothers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So again, Big Lebowski, Fargo, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? No Country for Old Men, Blood Simple, Barton Fink. They just have this knack of making these movies that are so strange and yet so watchable. I remember the first time I watched The Big Lebowski, I was a little bit like, I don't really know what to make of that, and I also don't understand why people love it so much. And then I rewatched it, and I watched it again and again, and I was like, yeah, it's got something about it. And they have this that I think that's their knack of having something that is so intangibly watchable. And No Country for Old Men, again, it's one of those movies where essentially it's a horror movie, really, with a guy stalking, the people who are trying to, chase him, and then this MacGuffin of the money and everything. I just think they have this knack of just writing incredibly strange movies, and I can't really put my finger on why I like them, but yeah, I think they're very, very talented guys.
I think you're right. I think the thing with them is it's very hard to see that the people that made Oh Brother, Where Art Thou are the same people that made No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
They're two completely like both ends of a scale. Yeah. I love Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? There's something about that movie. It's got such a style, but again, it's got some quite scary bits in it as well. But again, No Country for Old Men is another one of those movies that like you could just watch just for the villain. If anything else, it's just for the villain. What
a performance that is. And also the weapon of choice of having was it a cow?
Oh yeah, the cow poker thing, whatever it is.
Thing.
Yeah, it's and then you got Raising Arizona as well, just like a madcap crazy thing. But yeah, they should have been in my top 10. I
think that's sort of like the masters of very Americana, kind of like odd Americana movies.
Yes.
Even if you watch Barton Fink, I mean, that just turns into some sort of hellish. It starts normally and it turns into like a descent in hell, basically. Mm. And they've almost got a muse, like Scorsese's got. He had Robert De Niro and then he had Leo DiCaprio, but these guys have got John Goodman for some reason. It's like a little bit of a muse for them, in several movies. And they just, I don't know, they're very peculiar directors, and I quite like that peculiarity about them.
Mm. I mean, I haven't got him in my top 10. I don't know if he's in the rest of yours, but I find that Wes Anderson is like a little stem off of the Coen brothers multiverse.
Yeah.
That same kind of just like the quirkiness of it, and
Yeah.
just the way that certain shots are shot, and the colors and stuff.
Do you're a Wes Anderson fan?
I do like Wes Anderson. I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen all of his movies, but like the Darjeeling Limited and the Grand Budapest Hotel, I think are two great films.
Yeah.
And again, he's another one of those movie directors that it's the little details that kind of drag you in. Which I'll talk about with one of the ones I've got left, but that's a good one. Okay, my number 5 maybe should be higher, but I'm going to go for Stanley Kubrick at number 5.
Okay, so Kubrick is my number 4.
Is your number 4? Okay. He's I mean, again, he's one of these iconic ones that I think without him, a lot of other directors just wouldn't have followed in his path.
100%.
And I also think he's definitely one of these ones. If you ever see The Room, I can never remember the number. Is it Room 247 or whatever? It's a documentary about The Shining that these fans put together, and they're saying about everything in a frame of a Kubrick movie means something. So things are on a shelf. They're not just put there willy-nilly. Every single one of them is there for a reason. If there's a face on a can, it's pointing in a direction because there's something in that direction. And the way people stand, they're standing in a way that something is in front of them and it looks like a phallic symbol. You know, they're stood there with this, whatever it is, big tree or potted palm in front of them, and it looks like a big erection, you know. Which I've tried to put into my own normal life. You know, anytime there's a big potted palm, I'll try and stand in front of it. Never works. But that's what I like about Kubrick is, like, you know, you can't have a Kubrick movie on in the background while you're doing something else. You've got to watch a Kubrick movie. You know, every single scene, every single second means something. So you've got to be switched on for that kind of stuff. But what about you?
Totally agree. I mean, he's, like you say, he's my number 4. So I just think the Shining, I think, is just, it's just fucking terrifying, isn't it? Really. And just like you say, like every you know, he's meticulous, isn't he? He's meticulous, basically, and even to the point of like you say, the documentary behind The Shining and Room, you know, what was it, Room 241,
whatever it is, 247, something like that. Yeah.
But rewrites on set and making Shelley Duvall literally lose her shit, like with take after take after take after take. Yeah. He's one of those guys. Again, is the running theme here is that the directors that we've chosen are basically bastards. But you know, you've got to be dedicated to the craft, I guess.
They know what they have in their mind that they want to see, and that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just think I totally agree with you. Like everything is so meticulously, almost Wes Anderson like meticulously put in the frame, but you know, not centered. But you know, everything's put in the frame for a reason, and every reaction and every sort of thing that they did. The actors did is for a reason. Even with Jack Nicholson, do you know there's like a little story about him when he's trying to smash through the door in The Shining, and he used to be like a volunteer sort of fireman, so he can use an axe and he can smash through doors. So they gave him like a fake door, and he smashed through the door dead easily. And they went, "Oh, okay, let's get a real door then." And then, okay, keep going. He smashed through the door. But I just think he's amazing. And Clockwork Orange, Full Metal Jacket. You know, all of them. You don't get that type of spiky cinematic meticulousness without him, do you?
No. 2001, Space Odyssey.
Yep.
You know, you can reel all these movies off, and it's like it's iconic after iconic after iconic. I know we don't like using the I word, but it absolutely is. Okay, so that was my number 5. So Kubrick was your number 4, and Ridley Scott was my number 4. So it's back to you for your number 3.
Okay, so my number 3 is Quentin Tarantino.
Ooh, okay.
I'm trying to gauge your reaction.
Okay, why? Why is it number 3?
Number 3 because I feel like early Quentin Tarantino, and we're talking Reservoir Dogs, we're talking Pulp Fiction, we're talking Jackie Brown. I think if he'd have carried on in that vein of those movies, I would have, and you know, obviously we've got Inglourious Basterds, I think is in there as well. And I would put that up there, maybe not as high as those 3, but pretty much up there. if he'd have carried on with that, I would be talking about him as possibly the greatest director and writer of movies I've ever seen in my life. I think he's gone off a little bit into a little bit flabbiness, overwriting things, movies a bit too long. I wasn't a massive fan of Django. I thought it was okay. I thought it was good. Kill Bill, I liked. I thought it was good. But then the Grindhouse thing, I was like, and then what was the one where they're in the cabin? I can't remember the
Hateful Eight.
Oh yeah. So again, I thought it was okay. So I just think he's been a bit hit and miss recently. Having said that, Pulp Fiction is. I struggle to. We talk about you guys talk about perfect movies. Pulp Fiction is perfection. I think it's just absolute perfection. Jackie Brown is pretty much there as well. And then you got Reservoir Dogs and just this guy coming on the scene and talking about, like a virgin. You're talking about tipping people, and I just think, my God, this dialogue is just absolutely fucking insanely good. And you're watching it going, they're talking about nothing. They're talking about stuff we talk about.
Yeah,
which is ridiculous. Burgers. He's
dick,
phenomenal.
dick.
Yeah. And I just think, wow, he's insanely good. And he's number 3 because I just think there's 2 other people who are slightly better than he is. But that's not to say that I don't think he is an absolute behemoth of cinema. So what a fantastic director he is.
I'm going to break with protocol here.
Oh,
okay. He's my number 1.
Well,
okay, Tarantino is my number 1 because I've got 2 others obviously in my top 3, and no matter how good they are as directors, I don't think Tarantino has made a bad movie or even a mediocre movie.
Yeah.
I absolutely love everything that he's done. Like even Death Proof. Death Proof has got one of the greatest eating scenes ever, is when Kurt Russell is at the bar eating nachos and his hands and his face are all greasy and it's crispy and crunchy and slimy. I fucking love eating scenes for some reason. I just do. And there's something about Tarantino and his writing, like you said about The Hateful Eight. It didn't feel like a 3-hour movie to me. I mean, it felt like you were watching a play to start with because it's sort of set in one place.
Yeah.
I love the minuteness of his writing and the minusculeness, and just it's hard to explain, but it's just the fact that he will take, like you said about the Reservoir Dogs eating scene, the breakfast scene. It's just shit that everybody talks about. Yeah, if I was to try and write a scene like that, it would be, "Hi, how are you? Oh, I'm okay. You all right? Yeah, I am. Yeah," and it'd be boring, But he writes it, and you're sucked in straight away. It doesn't matter what scene. I can remember watching Pulp Fiction, and after watching Reservoir Dogs, I can remember the scene when Bruce Willis goes up to. He's just been. Spoilers for anybody that's not watched Pulp Fiction, but he's just escaped from. He's got Zed's motorbike, and he goes back to go and collect his girlfriend, and the camera is set at the bottom of the apartment, and it doesn't cut. So you go up to. Bruce Willis goes up to the top to go and get his girlfriend. And every second of that, I'm thinking, someone's going to come out in a minute and shoot them. Because he's just left the camera there. There's no cuts to what's happening. You think you're going to see blam, blam in a minute. And you're on the edge of your seat because you're thinking someone's going to get killed in a minute. And nothing happens. He just gets his girlfriend. They get on the back of the bike and Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead. And off he goes. And that's the beauty, is that Tarantino plays with your emotions. The first 5 minutes of Kill Bill, it's fucking horrific.
Oh, yeah.
You've got the bride getting shot in the head after being told that, "Oh, Bill, it's your baby." You think, fuck, what the fuck's going to happen now?
Yeah.
He is so good at what he does. And the other 2 people that are in my top 3 are masters at their game, but they've had times when they've not done such great movies. I had to put Tarantino at top because for me, which is very rare, but he is 100% hit rate, 100%.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Look, respect, all power to you. Respect for putting him there. I mean, this is the personal top 10, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, it is shades. Like when we get to the top 3 of anything, you're talking shades.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely I adore him, and I've got his screenplay actually. I've got a booklet screenplay of Pulp Fiction that I thumb through, and it's like the actual dialogue when you read it on a page for some reason has more of a resonance with you in like when TV, like when you watch a movie on TV, you're listening to the dialogue and it's fantastic. But when you're reading it on the page, you're going, oh god, yeah, he wrote this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think if you read something like that, I don't think it's too grand to say it's modern day Shakespeare.
Oh no, it is. It's absolutely fantastic.
It's just you could read it as a story, and yeah.
Tarantino at his best can cut to the human, the truth of who we are, basically.
Yeah.
What we talk about at the times we talk about them, and how we react to things, and why we react to things, and the things we say. I don't think anyone else can do that.
No. And he can rewrite history perfectly as well.
I mean,
killing Hitler and saving
it?
Sharon Tate and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've gone a little bit there about my number one, but my number three is Martin Scorsese.
So that is my number two.
That's your number two. Yes. Now, again, you just start reeling off the movies that he's done. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. Again, he's somebody that apparently loves to do more than 2 or 3 takes. He likes to do 30 or 40 takes, but he knows what he wants to get. And I think again, like you said, you look at him, his muse was Robert De Niro. Now it's more Leonardo DiCaprio. I haven't watched Killers of the Flower Moon yet, but have you not seen it yet?
No.
Right, okay. But again, it's supposed to be fantastic. I think just the name and the movies that he's done puts him in the top 10. It's just where in the top 10 you're going to put him, or basically where in the top 5 or top 3 you're going to put him as a director. So, I mean, he's one higher than me. So, fire away, Rick.
Yeah, I think I was just I watched Mean Streets quite a while ago, like a long time ago, and this is supposed to be a young director, and he always has this knack of sort of weaving very visceral visuals and religion and violence and again Tarantino-esque, I guess, in the way his dialogue flows, and he just, again, I haven't really seen a director use popular culture songs. I mean, his back catalogue of songs must just be absolutely insane. Like, he must be just like, you give him a song and he'll just be like, yeah, that was this year and it was this artist. So he's the needle drop type thing with him is just unbelievably good. Sometimes it can be a bit on the nose, but a lot of the times you sort of go, oh my god, yeah, of course you played that song over this bit. Because so for me, it's almost a visual and an aural sort of thing with him, where it's almost, he paints a world for you in a very, very you can almost chew it. it's so sort of there for you. I can't really explain it. It's I just think he's fantastic, and even when he's gotten older, I mean, apparently the Departed, it almost killed him. Like, he did so much work on that, and he worked so hard on it. And I don't really know any other director that can just sort of command a movie, and it's a Scorsese movie, but you park that and you watch the movie. Whereas I feel like with someone like with Wes Anderson, it's like, this is definitely a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah,
I'm over the head with the fact it's a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah,
Scorsese, it's like, oh, this is definitely Scorsese because it's choppy. He's gone slow motion here, and then he's gone over here, and then he's done this in a different type of frame rate, and he's gone over there, and and you just go, yeah, that's fine. So he mixes all these different styles together, and I think he's phenomenally good. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just looking on IMDb, and you go from Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, Taxi Driver, The Last Waltz, Raging Bull, King of Comedy, After Hours, The Color of Money. Then he directs the Michael Jackson Bad video.
Does he?
The Last Temptation of Christ, then Goodfellas, Cape Fear, Age of Innocence, Casino.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Gangs of New York, which is a great movie. The Departed, then you got Shutter Island, another great one. I mean, Wolf of Wall Street is just it's a crazy movie, but it's so good.
Yeah, he's mesmerizing in the fact that, and he's getting on now as well, and it's not like was any spring chicken when he was doing Wolf of Wall Street, or
Exactly.
all that stuff. And I just think I'm just in awe of the guy. Really, I think he's forgotten, like the classic thing. He's forgotten more than anyone else will remember about making a movie. And you just think, wow, yeah. But not only just making a movie, like creating a feeling and a theme about things. It's just unreal.
And it's not even like 90-minute movies that he's making. He's making like these 3.5-hour epics.
Absolutely.
You know, The Irishman wasn't a little ditty, was it? That was an epic movie as well.
Yeah,
but
it was one you basically had to park the rest of your week to watch, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he has had a few misses. He has had a few sort of like bum notes for me, but just on the whole, and on the fact that he's just continually been so prolific, I think, yeah, what a guy.
Yeah. Completely agree. Okay, so my number 2 is Spielberg. I've got him at number 2. Look, Spielberg is somebody that I have grown up with, and the certain section of his... Cool, bloody hell, that was windy. Jesus. The certain section of his career is basically my childhood, is what I grew up. You've got E.T., Raiders, all of those movies, and will forever mean, so much to me. I've kind of drifted away from what he's done over the last probably couple of decades, really. Yeah. That I've not really, Saving Private Ryan and that kind of stuff I thought was fantastic. But there's so many of his movies over the last at least 10, 15 years that I've not even seen.
Yeah.
So that's the reason that I couldn't put him at number 1. He is, to me, he's the second greatest director of all time. So, but it's just the fact that Tarantino has got that hit rate for me. Spielberg will always be the same as, people know that I'm a massive Star Wars fan. Are probably wondering why George Lucas isn't, in my top 10.
We all know that George Lucas isn't a brilliant director.
But he's not. No, he's not a great director. He's not even a great writer. That's the thing.
He's not. No, he's a world builder.
Yeah. So you couldn't put him in. I would gladly have Gerald Thomas above George Lucas in the top 10 directors. It's just simple as that. But Spielberg will always be somebody that is like close to my heart. So I have to have him in there. And I think he's just tipped by Tarantino's hit rate. It just is. Okay, before we reveal, Rick, before you reveal your number 1, because I've already done mine, can you give us a countdown between 10 and 2?
I can. So my number 10 was Ridley Scott. My number 9 was James Cameron. My number 8 was Alfred Hitchcock. My number 7 was Paul Thomas Anderson. 6, Francis Ford Coppola. 5, the Coen brothers. 4, Stanley Kubrick. 3, Quentin Tarantino. And number 2 was Martin Scorsese.
Lovely. And mine is number 10, Gerald Thomas. 9, Edgar Wright. 8, Francis Ford Coppola. 7, Christopher Nolan. 6, Alfred Hitchcock. 5, Stanley Kubrick. 4, Ridley Scott. 3, Martin Scorsese. And 2, Steven Spielberg. So, Rick, who is your number 1 director?
I think it's probably going to be no surprise because he's not been mentioned in my entire top 10. It's Steven Spielberg.
Okay, so we've got the same top 3.
We've got the same top 3,
just in a slightly different order. But
as we say, it's interchangeable, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
On any given day, it's kind of like, well, I'd put this guy at number 1. But, come on, like E.T., Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, and Schindler's List in the same year, which is just crazy.
Ridiculous.
Jaws, Close Encounters, Minority Report, which I love, Saving Private. I could go on and on. But I just, like you're saying, he is my childhood. He is, and it is an emotional thing for me. I think he's so good. Like I remember watching a bit of Minority Report, and there was an action scene, and I remember reading something in like a movie, book or magazine. It was like, whenever you have an action scene, whenever you have any type of fight scene or any action scene, it has to develop the characters or show something about the characters or push the narrative forward either way. It can't just be an action scene for action scene's sake, which is what a lot of movies do nowadays.
Yeah.
And he's fighting this guy, and the little flourishes that Spielberg does in these scenes where like he puts on the pack and they fire through the top of this apartment, and then they toast the burgers as they're going up, and I'm just like, that is so Spielberg to do those little ticks, those little visual ticks, much like Tarantino does, like the writing ticks. Spielberg does those little visual flourishes.
Yeah.
And it's Steven Spielberg. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. He's incredible, and just like you say, I know Tarantino's your number one, and I completely respect that as well because I think he's phenomenal. But yeah, it's there's that little thing of when you're making a movie and people go, all right, Spielberg, it's spectacular now, isn't it? So it's just incredible. Yeah,
I think that thing you're talking about, I think it's called Spielberg magic.
right.
That because like the one thing that the new Indiana Jones movie lacked was that Spielberg magic.
What new Indiana Jones movie?
Well, we can go on about that as well, but that is the thing. It's he has that thing, and I think like people like J.J. Abrams, they try to emulate that. They try and have those little moments, little camera movements that you think, yeah, he's trying to be Spielberg there. Super 8 is a great example of that. That's his love letter to Spielberg.
So right.
And I don't think anybody can do Spielberg like Spielberg. And the trouble is, I think, is that like his last few movies, even those haven't been as Spielbergy as.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I agree with you. He has dropped off. What is he, 70? Well, how old is he now?
Oh, I don't know. I can find out for you.
Yeah, I think he's 74 or something, or 76, something like that.
He's got to be getting up there, hasn't he? I would have thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't even remember the last movie that I've, as in the latest movie. So he's born in 1946.
Let's do some quick maths.
1946. That was 54, 74, 77.
77. Right. Okay. 77 now. So I mean, he's cracking on. But The Fabelmans, I think, was his last one, which was basically an autobiography.
The Fabelmans. That's right.
And I watched that with my girlfriend, and we enjoyed it. I mean, even now, like he's still, and there was lots of visual flourish moments in that and storytelling moments. But I just think for me, E.T., Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, Jaws, they've sort of entered this popular culture, sphere, almost very Star Wars-esque. And obviously, George Lucas is a close buddy of his as well. So, they've got that sort of sensibility, that visual sensibility. But yeah, that's my number one.
There you go. I mean, look at it. Jaws, Close Encounters, 1941, which obviously wasn't a big hit. Raiders, E.T., Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Color Purple, Empire of the Sun, Last Crusade. It was an amazing, like you say, Jurassic Park and Schindler's List all in 1993. I mean, that's enough to mess your brain up, isn't it, to do those two movies in the same year?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if there is a name that should have the icon, but iconic, but by it is Spielberg. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. They can be interchangeable. I could very easily.
I think our top three, just like you, I mean, it's Scorsese, Spielberg, and Tarantino. Those basic, they're all kind of honorary number ones, aren't they? Really? Yeah. They're
on. Oh Christ, what's the name of the thing with the president's heads? Mount Rushmore. They're the Mount Rushmore of directors. There you go. Dear. Okay, we've got some honorable mentions. Doug Simpson says Alfonso Cuarón, Edgar Wright, Martin Scorsese, Christopher Nolan, Steven Spielberg, Alfred Hitchcock, Ridley Scott, James Cameron, Jon Favreau, and Quentin Tarantino. At MPG_1980 says all time it has to be between Spielberg and Scorsese. But Denis Villeneuve is worth a mention, hasn't made a bad movie. I mean, Dune, did you see the Dune movie?
Oh, Dune, yeah, it was good.
That was incredible. Absolutely. And the Blade Runner sequel was pretty good as well.
Also good, yeah.
Nikki Dennis says, welcome back, Pav. Oh, thank you, Nikki. Here's mine. Chuck Jones, the director of iconic, animated films such as What's Opera Doc and Duck Amuck. Okay, I'll take your word for that, Nikki. Billy Wilder, Some Like It Hot, Sunset Boulevard. I mean, that's a great one. Taika Waititi, Nancy Myers, The Holiday, and Greta Gerwig for Barbie. Erin Peterson says, welcome back. Thank you, Erin. And my fave is Tim Burton. So that's going to be interesting this year when Beetlejuice 2 comes up to see just how good that's going to be.
I hope it's good.
I hope so. It's got a lot stacked against it. It really has, but I do hope it's good. Janine Bender says, welcome back. Thank you, Janine. My fave has to be John Hughes. I mean, that's an 80s one. That is, wow. Yeah. Karine Pastor, welcome back. Thank you, Karine. Okay, I like the last couple of films by him, so going a bit outside the box with Yorgos Lanthimos. He did The Favourite and Poor Things. That's the movie that I want to see, is Poor Things. That's the Emma Stone one Have you not seen that?
No.
No?
No.
That's all right. Calm down. That's the one where she's like a Frankenstein's monster kind of thing with Mark Ruffalo. Yeah,
God,
it's.
do you know what? I've never. I genuinely don't know what that is.
Do you know? It's. I think it's got 11 Oscar nominations. That was nominated. That was, as we were recording this, was announced today. And apparently, I haven't seen it yet, but it's supposed to have like a really, really graphic sex scene in it.
Oh, okay.
Ah, now he's interested. Look, now Ric's interested. Corrine says, I'm kind of into quirky films at the moment. Okay, right. Cindy Truman Bush says, welcome back. Thank you, Cindy. Wes Anderson is my favourite. And Jill Hett says, I'm a Wes Anderson fan myself. So there you go. We've done it, Ric. We've done it. I think this is your hat trick appearance. You're on 4 now as well. Wow.
Yeah.
We need to start giving out medals for all the people that are here for like more than 2 or 3 times, you know. So thank you very much, Ric. All of the stuff you need to find out are in the show notes. I'm not going to go through it all because Neil does that far too well, and I'm just going to waffle on for another 5 minutes. Just look in the show notes. Everything is there for Patreon to social media and all that gubbins. Just look in the show notes. There you go. Ric, thank you so much for joining us, mate. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world to us, and I promise I won't cry. But thank you. Thank you so much, mate.
No worries, mate. It was really good to be on. Thank you for having me.
Good. We'll have you back again. We got to see if we can get you up to like 5 or 6 appearances. Maybe do something musically next time or something. So if you don't want to do movies,
I am a massive movie buff though, so I'll try and branch out. I'll try and branch out for you.
I'm happy to carry on doing movies, mate. It's always a pleasure, no matter what. Once again, thank you very much, Ric.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, everybody, for watching and listening. Now let's go start the countdown. Great movies need great actors, great scripts and all that stuff, but having a great director behind the camera can make great movies into classics. A great director can make a bad movie, okay? And to be fair, directors can also make... Oh, fucking hell, let me do that again. what a great start. Fuck me. Okay, take 2. Great movies need great actors and scripts and all that stuff, but having a great director behind the camera can make great movies into classics. A great director can make a bad movie, okay, and to be fair, great directors also make bad... That doesn't make sense. Hang on, a great director can make a bad movie... Oh, right, I see. I get it. A great director can make a bad movie okay. Not a great director can make a bad movie okay. No, that's not what I meant. Oh, fuck me. All right.
Third time's the charm. It's all good.
Take 3.